They call him Mr. Shack.
Good morning.
69-year-old John Shackelford owns this bus, which is spotless inside and out.
I do Lysol every day.
Shackelford had retired from the daily grind 15 years ago, but says divine intervention put him back in the driver's seat. It began with a tragedy in November of 2016.
I was sitting on my couch one day, and there had been a bus wreck involving students at Woodmore. And so I was sitting on the couch, and the Lord told me to take the Woodmore route.
For many years, the Woodmore route was a revolving door of drivers, none of whom seemed to last long. It was considered a troubled route even before the accident, with reports of frequent discipline problems. Shackelford says it's nothing he can't handle.
We've written quite a few students up, talked to their parents. I have all the parents' home phone numbers, and we have a problem, I call them. And they usually straighten it out, so we don't have to do it at school.
Shackelford is in his second year on the Woodmore route. He knows every child by name and said it was important to establish a relationship with each one.
We're the first person they see in the morning after their parents, and kind of the impression we make on them goes through them the rest of the day. I speak to every kid that gets on my bus every morning and every afternoon when they get off. Tell them I'll see them tomorrow.
You can tell he loves kids. You can just see it in him.
Linda Black has custody of her 3 great-grandchildren. She says the families along the Woodmore route are grateful that Mr. Shack is there for them, watching over the children as if they were his own. He's on time every morning, every afternoon. He had never been in the neighborhood until he took the route, having driven in Ottawa and East Brainerd before his retirement. Now he's a familiar face, making the kids feel safe.
They always get off the bus smiling and happy. If you be here when they get off, they're always running and smiling. And they always say, he spoke to us today. He good to us, Granny. They always make some kind of comment about him.
It was John Shackelford's goal to bring stability and peace of mind to a community once shattered by tragedy. Each day is a new challenge with unpredictability around every corner. But the children of Woodmore can rest assured there's a steady hand at the wheel.
What they suffered back a couple of years ago, I think they feel better when I pull up and take off with their kids, knowing that they're going to be safe and get to school on time.
When I met Mr. Shack, he's just a good person. You could just feel the spirit in him.
Dalton Police Officer David Sailors has been warning drivers about the hands-free law for months.
The education never stops.
He started writing tickets instead of warnings 2 weeks ago.
We're going to ride around the city for a little bit.
He let us tag along while patrolling. And it didn't take long before someone drove by us with their phone in plain sight.
The reason I stopped is because when you passed by, I noticed you had your phone in your right hand.
That driver was given a $50 ticket and a point on his license, a first offense. In the past 2 weeks, more than 30 tickets have been handed over to drivers who picked up their phones.
You can't hold the phone or support it by any part of your body at any time.
Portia Anderson says it shouldn't even be a problem.
Please say a command after the beep.
She puts her phone out of sight when she gets in the car.
Say a name or say phone number.
It connects to a Bluetooth system instead.
They need to follow the law. Not for the law's sake as much as for the lives' sake that they could be saving.
Officer Sailors wishes everyone thought like that, though he is impressed with how many people are putting their phones down.
It's been shocking how many people are committed to doing it, and the number of Bluetooth.
Dorothy Durr is a Tennessee driver, and she's also a frequent flyer. She just learned about the new changes to the Tennessee driver's license and IDs. Durr says she's definitely going to get the new ID.
It's not too much trouble to get it, and I travel often, so if it's going to make things easier, then I'm for it.
4.5 million people have a Tennessee driver's license or ID. Soon they will have the option to get a real ID, which means the Tennessee ID meets federal standards. Tennesseans aren't required to get the upgraded driver's license, but if residents don't have a passport, the real ID cards will be needed to fly on airplanes, go into federal buildings, or enter military bases. The director of driver services, Michael Hogan, says the new license will not cost more than the original one.
It has to be a certified birth certificate or a U.S. passport. If you were here and with legal presence in the country. There are various forms.
Hogan says this program has been rolling out in phases across the country. This legislation began in 2005 during the George W. Bush administration.
Officials want people in the community to follow that example with more heavy rain on the way. Rescuers in Walker County say the odds were against the two men they found stranded on Wednesday morning.
They have very poor cell service in that area, and so in order to make the call to 911, they had to leave their vehicle and find a high ridge.
No cell service and no place to go after crossing the waters of Dry Creek to go off-roading hours earlier.
As they went up through there and rode around a little while, as they come back out, they realized that the water level has risen more, and they were scared to try to come back through it.
Assistant Chief Eric Ashburn says it was that instinct that kept them alive.
Just to give you an idea, a 12-knot current can produce up to 3,000 plus pounds of force on the side of a vehicle.
Rainbow Sheen covers a small section of the Hiwassee River, a main source of water for some in Bradley County.
One of the hydraulic fluid lines burst, and the high pressure caused some of that to be expelled, and some of it hit the water.
A hazmat team spent the day placing water booms to contain the 10 gallons of eco-friendly fuel.
Trying to contain the spill to this small area in the water. We have had boats in the water. They went downriver. We've seen a light sheen about the 16-mile marker and 15-mile marker in the river, but it was very minute.
Smoky Mountain Transfer Corporation uses barges to transfer salt products to other companies like Olin. Officials say the salt could be causing corrosion to the machinery.
We have contacted our local authorities, and the state TDEC is on their way here. We have worked with the local fire department, emergency management. They've been through the river checking for levels.
Emergency management officials say it's important to note the leak is not affecting Cleveland utility customers.
It's the second flume to be damaged in the past 3 years. TVA tells us you can see that opening. That's where a 30-foot boulder fell in November. They tell us the weather may have played a role.
In 2014 and again in 2017, both flumes were damaged during cold months, and both repairs were made in the spring. TVA took us up with them, up a mile from Powerhouse 2, carefully observing the damage about 14 feet above any ground.
If this would have been in the summer months and it was dry for 5-6 months, you'd be able to see cracks through it.
In the wintertime, the rainfall or snow infiltrates into the cracks in the rock. As the temperature drops to 32, usually at night, the cracks freeze. This can expand the cracks by 9 to 10%, exerting pressure on the rock. As the temperature rises and the ice thaws, it allows water to seep further into the cracks. Over time, this loosens the rock and eventually gravity takes over. TVA is repairing the flume to historical standards to keep the integrity from 1913.
And we've come in and stabilized the slope, and to do that we had to remove more rock to keep it from falling on folks that were down here working.
Chemicals, airbags, and drills were used over the past month to remove remaining loose rock. For the new construction, they're specifically using pine tongue and groove from Georgia.
It helps with the structural integrity of it, rather than just stacking them straight up. You kind of weave them in together, and it helps with the structure.
Once the boards are weaved in, there will be a leak. In over a few weeks, the leak will stop. The pine is hygroscopic. It releases and absorbs moisture, and when moisture is added, the boards will expand and the boards will seal, preventing any more water to break through.
Well, we made it down this very narrow and windy road. That's where the flume had broke, where the dam is. We're now here at Powerhouse 2, and they tell us they want the repair done now by mid-May for recreation this upcoming summer. Reporting in Ocoee, meteorologist Brittany Beggs, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.